Hi, this is Dr. Pachenik, and today I want to talk about a brilliant strategic move that Trump and Secretary of Defense Esper made. And that was to bring in the Japanese warships and merchant ships into the Straits of Hormuz and in the Middle East. Specifically, Trump has requested that Prime Minister Abe of Japan work with the president of Iran, Rouhani, in order to make sure that the conflict that was arising with the United States be mitigated by Abe. He knows very well, Trump, that Abe will fulfill that mandate, and he also knows that the history of Japanese naval war capacity is very impressive. He also, unlike most other presidents, he's asked Abe to foot the bill of being in the Middle East and in the Straits of Hormuz, as well as performing the duties that Trump has assigned him, so that we can pull our soldiers out of Afghanistan, out of Iraq and Syria, and shift them to where we have always said, and I have particularly emphasized South Asia, in other words, around China and the Spratly Islands. It's important to understand one thing, that amidst all this turmoil, Trump still works very hard, but very little notice is given to his achievements, as I'm telling you right now about that strategic move, which I think is quite brilliant. And the reason it's brilliant is because contrary to the Council on Foreign Relations evaluation of Trump as being a failure, I disagree with him. I had been in the council and I left him. It's a geriatric unit for which I have very little respect. But what Trump did was to shift our entire strategic venue away from the Middle East, where we've wasted a lot of time on terrorism or counterterrorism of whatever we thought was terrorism, and shifted it strategically to the South China Sea, where I've said China was a major concern. Now, no country is more threatening to China than Japan. And that's because there's a historical precedence for that. I've talked briefly about it, and I wrote about the rigorous and ruthless approach that the Japanese had during World War II in my book, Blood Heat, which was not printed in Japan and allowed the Japanese to throw me out of Japan, or I was PNG'd, because in Blood Heat I said the following: Emperor Hirohito was responsible for the complete slaughter of 2 to 5 million Chinese in Manchuria or Manchukuo between 1927 and 1930. What made it unusual is Japan, unlike Hitler, who did not want to use gas warfare, biological warfare, Japan used biological warfare and didn't stop at that. At the same time, they were ruthless to our American prisoners, to the Dutch, to the Australians, to the Brits. And because of that, they had a history of subordination, slavery that started with Korea in 1901 and ended about 1945 to the end of the war. More importantly, Japan had a history of slaughtering men, women, and children in the Nanjing Rape. So what I'm saying right now is what Trump has said. I respect the Japanese, and I particularly like the fact that the Japanese bow. But I'm very concerned what's behind that bowing. On that note, I wish you good night and good luck.